Van der de Bechtijn writes on July 6, 1942, "Have you ever been in combat? Don't volunteer for anything. I ruined my life with that, and I'm writing to you with difficulty since I have no fingers on my right hand." Today we'll look at various accounts from soldiers who fought on the Eastern Front during the Second World War. Having the perspective of a human being on the battlefield certainly broadens our understanding of how horrific the war between 1941 and 1945 was in the USSR. It's no wonder that front was called the War of Extermination. Stay with us until the end of the video because these accounts are not easy to digest. The issue of housing was a favorite theme of Bolshevik agitation in Europe. They vehemently attacked the housing of workers. Regardless of economic conditions, they demanded a room for every German. Self-proclaimed communist artists depicted the misery and poor health in the overcrowded working-class districts. The Soviet Union had 25 years to implement this point in its program. They had the raw materials and the workers, as demonstrated by their armaments program. Nothing prevented them from establishing paradise in their corner of the world. But except for Jews and party bigwigs, the soldiers write that everyone in the Soviet Union lives worse than animals. Unimaginable misery. Sergeant Kurt Hummel, Paris, to his local group Northern Russia, August 12, 1941. Bolshevik conditions are indescribable. I never imagined such misery was possible. People here know nothing about electric light, radio, newspapers, and things like that. What they live in can't be called houses. There are only shacks with rotten thatched roofs. Huge, neglected fields stretch all around. We haven't even found a small shop yet. This is what people call the Soviet paradise. I wish the few foreigners still remaining in Germany could be sent here. There is misery wherever you look. One has to see it to realize how beautiful Germany is. Main roads are like trails, soldier. Heinrich Stehr writes to his co-workers at Hamburg Hochbahn AG about general conditions. "We infantrymen are probably the best judges of good and bad roads, since we have to march kilometer after kilometer on them. Here too, the Soviets didn't lift a finger. The main roads are no better than country trails. Believe me, my dear comrades, the soldiers have uttered many justifiable curses after marching 40 or 50 kilometers on such roads. Moreover, it's 30 to 35 degrees Celsius in the shade, and huge clouds of dust make breathing almost impossible. Swamps, forests, and bad roads make military action unpleasant, but we keep moving forward." Medical Corporal Paul Lenz, Posen, to the local NSDAP group, Arneberg. "Only a Jew can be a Bolshevik. For these bloodsuckers, there's nothing better to be, because then there's nothing to stop them. Wherever you spit, there's a Jew, whether in a city or a village. As far as I know," we asked people, wanting to know the truth, "no Jew ever worked in the workers' paradise. Even the smallest bloodsucker held a position with great privileges. He lived in the best buildings, if they can even be called buildings. The real workers lived in small buildings, or rather, in stables, just like day laborers in old Russia. It makes no difference whether it's a village or a city like Minsk, with over 300,000 inhabitants. Stables are everywhere. Even before the war, most workers knew nothing but hunger, misery, and slavery. Some might be interested to know there were theaters, operas, etc., even big buildings for them, but only those with money got in, and those were the bloodsuckers and their lackeys. Soldier Reinhold Manke to Supervisor Bormann at the Otto Kloss Company in Hamburg. Duneberg, August 8, 1941. Dear Hermann, you need to see what people called the Bolshevik paradise. It's poor, Hermann, incredibly poor. Only Jews and officials lived well. People didn't earn enough to buy a pair of socks or something like that. They earned 1 ruble a day, about 10 German pfennigs, and that for a whole day's work. Only the Jews lived well. Each city is about 40% Jewish. The Jews and Bolsheviks dragged all the Latvians out of their homes who were still around before the Germans arrived. They stole their valuables, soaked the houses with gasoline, and set them on fire. Latvians who didn't want to go with the Bolsheviks had their hands and feet cut off, their tongues cut out, and were then left behind. They nailed men and even children to the walls. These are things we saw. If these criminals had reached our country, they would have torn us to pieces, that's clear. But the Latvians took their revenge. The comrades at the Kloss factory should come here and see what 25 years of communism have done. There's only poverty, misery, and more misery. Old peat huts, 1 cow and 1 pig, that's all they have. In Germany, people used to talk about how workers here had a good life. The Soviet giant now lets move on to faster but no less impactful letter report. Letter from a German lieutenant, November 29, 1941. It was much easier in Paris. Do you remember those golden days? The Russians are devils. We have to deal with them. At first, I even enjoyed this game, but now when I'm all scratched and wounded, I'm more practical. A pistol to the head. That cools the fervor. Among us, an unheard of thing happened here. A Russian girl blew herself up along with Oberlieutenant Gross. Now we strip them, search them, and then they vanish without a trace in the field. Soldier Simon writes to his wife in Munich, December 3, 1941. We are currently 30 kilometers from Moscow. When we leave our quarters, we can see some of Moscow's towers in the distance. Soon the siege will close. Then we'll occupy the luxurious winter apartments, and I'll send you some gifts from Moscow. Aunt Mina will turn green with envy. Letter from a German supply soldier, May 23, 1942. 2 weeks ago, while we were rummaging through the village, on the outskirts, inside a pile of rubble that was once a house, I found 2 pots on the fireplace from which came a delicious smell of roasted meat. I can say I have never eaten so greedily. However, that belongs to the realm of legend now. I am hungry again, and there is nothing to eat. Supply. Soldier Felix Kandel writes to his friend. Rummaging through trunks and setting up a good dinner, we started to have fun. A girl got upset, but we also took care of her. It's not a problem for all departments, don't worry. I remember the lieutenant's advice, and the girl is dead, like a grave. Non-commissioned officer Lang writes, in Lviv, it was a real massacre. Just like in Ternopil, not a single Jew left. You can imagine we had no pity for them. What else happened, I can't tell you. Supply, Soldier Minge writes to his wife. If you think I'm still in France, you're wrong. I'm already on the Eastern Front. We are feeding ourselves with potatoes and other goods we take from the Russian inhabitants. As for the chickens, they no longer exist. We made a discovery. The Russians bury their belongings in the snow. Recently, we found a barrel with salted pork and bacon in the snow, and we also found honey, warm clothing, and material for uniforms. Day and night we search for such discoveries. Everyone here is our enemy. Every Russian, regardless of age or gender, be it 10, 20, or 80 years old. When they are all eliminated, things will be better and more peaceful. The Russian population deserves it. They must all be exterminated, every single one. Soldier Zimak writes to his beloved, I ate like never before. I ate an entire pig's head. But I couldn't finish the pig ear. I threw it to a Belarusian peasant. But our company dog, Neptune, intercepted the prey. It was a hilarious scene. The diary of Oberlieutenant Krause, killed in Ukraine. Krause cut through fire and soared across Poland, France, Yugoslavia, Greece, and finally reached Ukraine. And in all those countries, the notes in the campaign diary are similar. It's a record of violence, looting, and vandalism. Soon I'll become an international lover. I seduced French, Polish, Dutch peasant girls. Today, finally, I let it out. A 15-year-old girl, she was extremely frightened. She bit my hands. Poor thing, I had to tie her up. The lieutenant told me, for such feats, you deserve the Iron Cross. Tank crewman Karl Fuchs writes, not a remotely attractive, intelligent face to be seen here. Only savagery, confusion, not even worth giving or taking. And here is, led by Jews and criminals, intended to subjugate all of Europe and the rest of the world. Thank God we didn't allow that. The German soldier to his wife, May 10th, 42. I'm writing this letter to you from the trench. Shells and bullets are whizzing past our ears. Behind us, 3 difficult battles. My friend is already dead. We hope the war in Russia ends someday. If not, we'll show the Russians what a German broom is. Where the German soldier passes, not even grass grows anymore. From the letter of Sergeant Major Paul Brandt. In Russia, the battles are intense. No one expected the Russians to resist so strongly at first. Corporal Hans Blumendorf writes, May 4th, 1942. Throughout the campaign, we never felt as bad as during the Russian advance. When we advanced, we could organize a decent food supply. Once, during a 5-day rest, a friend and I ate 45 chickens. That was how it used to be, but now we must starve significantly. The Diary of a German Soldier from Army Group Center, August 20th, 1941. The losses are terrible, nothing like it was in France. Today it's our road, tomorrow the Russians take it, then we again, and so on. I've never seen anyone crueler than these Russians, real rabid dogs. You never know what to expect from them. What surprised me most was the letter from Walter to his brother or father. The letter consisted of just one line, I'm still alive. Letter from a German soldier to his wife. I'm still on the front line in combat conditions, above us, Russian and German shells. There's no time to think about rest. If you can get something from the peasants to eat, bacon, butter, then send me some packages, 100 grams each. They no longer accept more than one package at a time. Letter from a German soldier. May 8th, 1942. Our unit is in the Dnieper region. The Dnieper overflowed and looks like a sea. You can barely see the other shore. The fields mostly remain uncultivated. There's also a lack of labor here. The impressions of this foreign land are bleak. Letter from a German corporal of the 269th Infantry Division, January 11th, 1942. You can't imagine what we've been through in the last 6 weeks. I can't even write about it. You'll simply say I'm lying. We spent all the time in the forest, with no roof over our heads, and the Russians always pressing us. On top of that, this desperate cold. Daily, so many semi-frozen comrades are leaving us. I also have frozen hands and feet, and I'm just waiting for the day when it ends for me too. Of us, radio operators, only 2 remain, and all the others are in the hospital. No one can endure this life. It's been 6 weeks since we've had clean clothes or decent food. At Christmas, we were surrounded by the Russians. We only managed to escape with the help of tanks. Still, these complaints are pointless. We can't hold on much longer. In the movies, they show one thing. Reality is much more tragic. But all of this wouldn't be so terrible if we knew it would end one day. But who knows how much longer this war in the forest will last. Anyway, the Russians will never surrender. Our convoys are constantly attacked by partisans. The body itches like hell. There is definitely no German soldier without lice in Russia now. The anti-tank gunner from Brest writes, June 22nd, 1941. On the first day, just as we went on the attack, one of ours killed himself with his own weapon. Holding the rifle between his knees, he put the barrel in his mouth and pulled the trigger. Thus, the war and all the horrors associated with it ended for him. Help us keep this project alive here on YouTube by subscribing to the channel. Thanks for watching, God bless you all, and see you soon.